welcome to the very first episode of the 2019 season of Inside the Lines Live. I'm so excited to be back.
Absolutely.
And Scott's back.
Yeah, I know. I think we
it's
have
like my
so
dream
much
come
happening.
true.
Yeah, but we, as you said, so excited for football to be back. It seems just the other day that we were talking about getting ready for fall camp, and now that all of that is done, all the practicing against each other, finally get to go against a new team. So new season for everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we should probably introduce ourselves, in case anyone doesn't know who we are. You're crazy. I'm Lizzie Arbogast, sports editor at TPI. I'm here with Scott Hardy, my mostly faithful co-host of Inside the Lines Live. We are here at Tiger Stadium getting ready for Horseshoe Bend at Dadeville. Our game of the week, local rivalry, Thursday night game, everything that you want in the first night of football. I can't believe it's here.
Absolutely, and you wouldn't really know that it's football season based on the weather, but what we've kind of gotten accustomed to that here in the South, and especially starting early. But two teams who have been enduring the heat during the summer, going through some transitions for both. I know we'll go into a little bit of that, but very excited to start the season here at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to believe you put in so much. I feel like the kids, you know what I mean? I feel like I've been talking about the start of football season since April, and we, go through spring camp, and then we go through summer workouts, fall camp, and now it's finally here. And I'm excited. I'm ready to go. So let's start with Horseshoe Bend. First year head coach Jeremy Phillips. Really, really excited about what he's brought to the table for these guys. There's just a new energy around practice at Horseshoe Bend that I hadn't seen the first 2 years I was here.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you have a new coach coming in, or any coach, but specifically when you're dealing with a new coach, you talk about the culture. And I think that Coach Phillips brings in a culture of winning, a culture of discipline, and just a culture of change. And so I'm looking forward to his tenure. But with his age, he's a little closer in age to the kids. So I think the relatability is there for him. So just talking to some of the people in the community during the summer, you could tell there's a different vibe and feel and some excitement getting ready for a new season of general football.
It kind of makes me feel old, though, when these head coaches start being younger than I am. I'm like, you graduated high school in 2012. That's not embarrassing at all. No, but he is, like you said, he can relate. He's not that far removed from where these guys were. He understands being a high school kid. You go through crap with your girlfriend, and then you got to go play on Friday night. He gets all that in a way that I think a lot of these older coaches maybe don't remember how to deal with that. And I hope that that connection that he has with them, like I said, and they're hyped, they're excited, and I like to see that from the Generals.
Yeah, and something else, kind of a correlation you see with Coach Phillips and the Generals is he comes from Clay County, played at Ashland, so coming from a small community there, going to Horseshoe Bend to be the coach, I think that'll resonate well with him because he understands what small town community is like. He's been in Alex City, and not to say Alex City is a large community, but comparative to Ashland and New Site, obviously it is. So I think he brings that nature coming in and understanding what he needs to do to cultivate this type of community.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioned that he comes from Clay County, obviously. He played under Coach Danny Horn, who we're both big fans of, also coached under him as well. So sort of has that, even though he's a young guy, has that old school football mentality. When he talked to me, he said, I'm a simple-minded guy, and football should be simple. They're going to really start power running the ball, the kind of football that I like, just run at your throats and be physical, starts up front, those kinds of things that you like to see from a personnel that maybe, especially with low numbers, a lot of young guys, that's something I think that'll work to their advantage.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to have the players to fit your scheme. You provide the scheme to fit your personnel. And so I think that's exactly what he's done. And while reading some of the articles leading up to this week, he talked about, not necessarily being able to out-athlete other teams, but if they're able to play tough and they're in it, they'll be competitive with most of the teams on their schedule. And so for a new coach coming in, that's all you can really ask for is that you're competitive. And again, changing that culture of losing and somewhat disappointment of not creating or having as much success as they would like to. And I think that he brings that to the table.
Yeah, and one theme that we have across the entire county and Coosa County is that we've got new quarterbacks all the way around. So I'm excited to see how Holt Tidwell manages the game. I think he's going to end up he's a young kid too. He's only a sophomore. Give him 3 years at that position, and I expect great things out of him. He's going to be that dual threat that they're looking for. And then
the next Cade Worthy.
Yes. Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, and Cade was obviously, managed the game really well, didn't turn the ball over a lot, all those kinds of things that you want out of your quarterback. And on the flip side, Dadeville's got the same thing, new quarterback in Lane Smith. Don't know as much about him, but he's looked really good from where I've seen him, and he's going to be the kind of guy that he needs to manage the game well. You know, he's got weapons all around him in their running backs, in their wide receivers, that he needs to get the ball to those people. And like I said, just manage the game well.
Yeah, Dadeville has athletes across the board, and I think their biggest thing will be if they're able to get the ball to them, or finding someone who can get the ball to them. I don't think you'll see a lot of deep throws or anything like that, but enough, as you said, for him to be able to manage it, for them to be able to let the playmakers do what they do and make the plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am worried for Dadeville about the injury to Josh Taylor. You know, he was such a key part of everything that they were doing. And he was their starting tailback, starting cornerback, starting kickoff and punt returner. You know, that's a big blow to go down in one foul swoop. But the good thing for Dadeville is they had 2 freshman running backs last year who got a lot of experience. So hopefully plugging those guys into that running back spot isn't going to be the worst thing ever.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the experience that Dadeville has coming back with their younger guys is due to injury, and so that's obviously not the scenario you'd like it, but they did get a lot of quality time playing last year, and so the competition level won't be as frightening as it maybe could have been or for a newer player. So even though only sophomores, they do have the playing ability or at least the playing experience of a higher classman.
And when I talked to Coach White, Coach Richard White, Dadeville's coach, earlier this week, he told me what he's really looking for is the offensive line. You know, that was a point of contention last year, that no matter who was back there running the ball, it wasn't going to matter because they didn't have a great line blocking in front of them. They moved Jamari Chisholm, who's a big boy. He's 6'3", maybe 240 pounds, and he can move really well. He's a basketball player. You know, he's been moved to the offensive line, played just defensive line last year. Max McClendon is back starting both ways on the line. And so I hope that unit sort of gels quickly, especially having those, you know, inexperienced running backs that will create some space for those 2 guys.
Yeah, and something I wanted to get your thoughts on is obviously you cover all of the teams in the area, but Dadeville, you came a little later in the Dadeville heyday of time. So
I know.
As Coach White, you know, explain what maybe give an indication of what their plan is to try to bring back that successfulness?
Well, I think the big thing is, you know, and this sounds like I'm an old lady, which I'm not really, but the generation is different. You know, kids aren't as dedicated to playing football as they were even 5-10 years ago. You know what I mean? Even when I was in high school, I don't want to age myself. I was in high school longer ago than I'd like to admit.
I'm the older of the 2.
I know you are, but not by much. But, you know, I think that's the big thing. Numbers are down. Numbers have been down for a while, and it's getting guys, getting guys back out there and getting guys that want to play. You know, the big thing that I was so frustrated with last year with Dadeville was their mentality of if one thing went wrong. I mean, you look at that Reeltown game from last year. They scored on their opening possession, and it was like, well, we should just go home now, because you could see it on the kids on Dadeville's faces, and I think that's what he wants to change to get back that sort of success, because they were a really, really good team for a really long time, and they've missed the playoffs now 3 years in a row, and never have missed it for 4 years in a row in the program history. So they don't want to be that team.
Yeah, and communities of this size, I mean, a lot of times sports are cyclical, but particularly in high school when you're dealing with smaller communities,
small towns,
it happens that way. And they, as you said, though, they've been able to combat that and remain somewhat consistent and not, you know, they always were a presence in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see if they don't match that 4-year, or they don't break that 3-year streak and
I hope they do.
Their schedule provides some games that they could steal a couple of wins.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be a tough schedule, though. Like Ryan said on our preview show earlier this week, you know, they've got a really, really tough schedule. They're in a really good region, you know, with St. James and Bullitt County's coming up, and Beulah surprised everybody last year. You know, there's some really good teams on that schedule. So I think it's going to be tough for Dadeville, but I hope they can put it together.
Yeah, and especially, although, you know, I'm a homer, I'll say it. I root for Benjamin Russell, but at the end of the day,
I'm a homer for everybody.
We're rooting for these teams to have success, and you look across our coverage area, and whether it be Coosa or recently Dadeville and somewhat recently Horseshoe Bend, you want to see them elevate the program and become a little more successful. And so I think that the people at the helm right now are the people that are capable of making that happen.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break because we do have a full slate of other games going on tonight and tomorrow. So we'll get back and break down those in just a moment. All right, welcome back to Inside the Lines Live. I'm Lizzie Arbogast alongside Scott Hardy. It is week 0 of the football season. Okay, let's talk about week 0 for just a second. Do you love... Phew, that looks like it was coming right at us. Do you love week 0 or do you hate it? The name, not the week.
I hate it. Just start with week 1 and just why can't that be? And I'm sorry for hitting the mic there, but week 1, I still don't understand it. But just,
I don't get it either.
If they want the bye, just give a team a bye.
Caleb said week 0 because it sounds more exciting. I was like, that doesn't literally make sense.
Kinda.
Right. Week 0? Yeah. You're playing in week 0. But we do have all of our teams in action in week 0. Obviously, we're here at Horseshoe Bend at Dadeville. But we have 2 other teams in action tonight, and then Benjamin Russell takes the field on Friday night. So let's start off with our 2 teams for tonight. Reeltown is hosting Bullitt County. And I'm really excited to see what this Reeltown team is made of. And I think in the past, Bullitt County, you might have thought, that's not really a test. But Bullitt County's good. Bullitt County just had a kid commit to Auburn, Brandon Perry, last week, a couple weeks ago. And they're not a pushover anymore. And I think this is going to be a good test to see where Reeltown stands.
Yeah, and everyone who's followed the show knows how big a fan we both are, but I'm a big fan of Coach Johnson, and he's kept that winning culture going from Coach O'Neill. Now this is his program. He's been there, I guess, year 4.
This is his fourth year
for Coach Johnson. So he's aware of what this community expects from its football program, not only from a player's perspective, but from a coach's perspective as well.
Right.
So as you said, they're not a pushover. Not that they were ever considered one, but comparative to Bullitt County, maybe. But I think that this is a team that has the pieces to be able to put together a really good football season. Yeah,
the big thing for me is that are they going to be able to stay healthy? The first 2 years that I've been here, they've dealt with some really key injuries. That first year, Kiki Hughley missed half the season. Last year, it was like everybody went down. I mean, Trey missed the whole season. Eric Shaw missed half the season. Leo Lewis missed half the season. Somebody else, Iverson Hooks, I think, missed half the. It's like, it just was endless. So the list went on and on. So I think that'll be the big thing. And Coach Johnson did say they had done a lot. I mean, there's only so much you can do for ACL injuries. Usually they're freak accidents. The ones that we saw these past couple weeks with our 3 teams that had big injuries, they were just freak injuries. But he at least tried to do some extra stuff. So that's going to be key for them.
You brought up Eric Shaw, and I did want to ask you this. You covered his entire recruitment process. Was this your biggest recruit to cover?
Yes, this is the biggest one I've ever covered for football.
Mm-hmm.
I've covered some guys similar in baseball. But it was so exciting to watch. I mean, that those couple weeks there where it was like, just like the injury list, it was like, it's Auburn and South Carolina and Texas A&M and Vanderbilt and Purdue and UVA, and like they just kept coming and coming and coming. my original goal was to write a story about every single one, and then I was like, I can't write 25 stories about the same kid. There's not enough to say. But it was exciting to watch, and I'm glad that he got the decision out of the way. I like that he's going to South Carolina. I think he'll make a difference right away, and I'm excited to continue to watch his journey for the rest of his career and hopefully into the NFL.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to transition. I just wanted to. I hadn't had a chance to really talk to you about the recruitment process, and
I'm a big Eric Shaw fan,
yeah.
so
Yeah, and so he has a chance to put together one of Reeltown's best seasons
Yes.
in quite some time, and
Yeah.
if he's able again to stay healthy, he along with the team will have a very successful run, and when I say run, I mean deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, and also one of the things I asked Matt Johnson was, is there anybody that's kind of stood out the last week that you really expect to kind of break out? And he said, I know this is cliche, I know it's not a surprise, but Eric Shaw really looks good. And they, it's been a while since he's gotten out of the field, so he's chomping, he's ready to go. So I'm excited to see how he does. Another team I'm excited to see actually is Central Coosa. Central Coosa plays Winterboro at home tonight. And I was really down about this. I was like, oh no, here we go again, But I talked to the editor at Daily Home, Levante Young, today actually, and he said, Winterboro doesn't, they graduated a lot. They're almost a brand new team. I think Coosa's got a shot to at least be competitive, which is what we need from the Cougars.
Yeah, and for those who haven't necessarily been following, they've kind of changed the program in terms of who they're getting to play. So they're going 7 through 12. Those
Yes.
are going to try to get as many people out. And so in the short term, they may struggle a little bit because they'll be outmanned. But
Right.
over the long haul, if they can keep this nucleus of players together that they're starting to play with, or
Right.
starting now, I think 3 or 4 years from now, when this group is juniors and seniors, they'll have an opportunity to really change some things in Coosa.
That's what I hope for. And I also think I like what Coach Brett Thomas said about how last year when something wasn't working, they changed it, which makes sense. It's not a bad strategy. But for a team like Coosa with so few numbers and so inexperienced, it might be better just to stick with it wasn't working because they didn't get it yet. So stick with that and keep the repetition and keep going with what you're trying to do. And then, like you said, down the line, hopefully by the end of the season, they'll have gotten it a little bit more. And same thing as last year, other than Reeltown and Thorsby and Lafayette, that 4th spot could be anybody's between Vincent, Horseshoe Bend, Fayetteville, and Coosa. I mean, it could be anybody's. So there's no reason, and they're a team that they got to change the mentality and change the culture.
Yeah, and again, obviously, I hate saying anything like this, but for them, it's really not about wins and losses at this point. It's really, again, about changing the
Building a
perception
program.
and building the program of what could be at Coosa. And they've had success prior to, even within the last 5 years when Coach Barry Simmons was there. So made the playoffs.
It's
not that they're not capable.
Everybody
of being a
heard of them when they
program.
had that game against Childersburg. I mean, they were on the map. Yeah.
So,
I heard about that in Pennsylvania.
I forgot about that. So again, for a program like that, it takes the community, it takes athletic department, school board. Everybody has to be on board with that. And it sounds like they're trying to make a conscious effort to make sure that they're doing all they can to promote the football program.
Yeah.
Because the athletes are there.
Right. For sure. And then lastly on the docket, tomorrow night, Friday night, Benjamin Russell is headed to Beauregard, and I'm super excited to see this team. I think that they have a ton of potential, and it's just going to be, can they put it all together? Can they execute? They don't have a lot of depth. What can they actually do? But I'm super excited about this team.
Yeah, if the thing that separated them from being a kind of an average team last year and a really good one was the consistency in their play. And I know that kind of logically that would make sense, but they had moments where if you look at the second half of Clay Central, you say, man, this team could really do something. Then you
second half of Wetumpka.
And then you look at maybe like a Helena or one of those Demopolis, and it's like, all right, you got to step it up. And so I think that coming back now, even though you have a new quarterback coming in Carter Smith, he's been going over this system with his dad forever. So I think that you're not missing anything with him coming in. So he's just as knowledgeable there. Yeah. He'll just have to get his playing in. But athletically, Benjamin Russell can match up with anyone.
Yeah.
Especially on the defensive side of things, and they'll have to move some people around here and there. But I think that with the new the new offensive package that they're putting in mixed with the defensive scheme, this will be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm excited. Hezekiah Hunter's moved back to running back. He played played running back in his sophomore year, then moved to linebacker because they needed somebody, and then has now moved back to the starting running back, and I think he's going to be a difference maker for them. You know, that was something they sorely lacked last year, was just a running game, and you have to, even though they're going to try to spread the ball out more, they're going to try to pass the ball more. You've got to establish a run game in order to be able to do that, because anybody can go and triple team Zay Stows, and then there goes that option. If they don't have a running game. If they've got a running game, you can't do that. So that's going to be really key, and I think Hezekiah Hunter could be the guy to do it.
Yeah, Kevin Smith is an offensive wizard, and so he's going to try to figure out the best way possible to get his guys to be as productive as possible. But having said that, if it all boils down to it, he's going to run the ball, and so they didn't have that last year. You
ultimately want to, yeah.
And that's the first time in maybe a decade, even maybe going a little further than that. Benjamin Russell has always had a strong running game, and I think that correlated with some of the inconsistencies that you saw somewhat offensively. But having said that, I think having Hezekiah now, that makes them he's a true three-down back, too. If they want to do some things with him in the passing game, they can do that as well. And if the running game is going, that ultimately is going to help Carter, and then that gets the points going for the Wildcats.
Right, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to take one last break, and then we'll be back. We're going to give you a key to the game for tonight's game, give you some predictions, and then we'll wrap it up for the night. All right, welcome back to Inside the Lines Live. I'm Lizzie Arbogast alongside Scott Hardy. I still just can't get over it like it's football season. I can't believe in like 35 minutes I'm going to be covering a football game.
Yeah, and I'll be watching, and this is the most exciting time you'll see for any high school. Yeah, I love all of the sports, but the opening game for high school football is tremendous, and so
it's so fun.
Everybody is starting out 0-0 and have an opportunity to change the trajectory of their season in the first game, and so I'm very excited to get things going again.
So let's get to a big key to tonight's game. Remember, we are here at Tiger Stadium getting ready for Horseshoe Bend at Dadeville. So many unknowns. Like, I don't even know how to predict this. I don't know what's going to happen at all. So I'll let you give a key to the game first.
Key to the game, I think, obviously, by being the first game, new coach for the Generals, kind of transitioning for the Tigers, there's going to be a lot of nerves there. So ultimately, everybody understands to kind of calming that down. But I'll say the team that scores 17, getting to 17 first will be the key to this game. I don't think there will be a lot of scoring in this game. So if you could get to 17, I think that would be a key for the game.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, I thought when you said that you were going to say the team that scores first is probably going to win. I could see that. Yeah. You know, I could see that being it too. I think what Coach Phillips said was really spot on, is that, you know, this is going to come down to execution. You know, if you turn the ball over 3 times, you're probably not going to win. If you allow 2 special teams touchdowns, you're probably not going to win. I think this is basic football, and these are 2 teams that play simple, good football. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a good prediction. So I'll go with that. You know, whoever just executes those little things better. But I do think maybe whoever scores first wins.
That's probably a better way of what I think that'll get. But see, you never know in games like this. See, it really may not be a lot of offensive points. It could be, special teams,
That's
defense.
true. Yeah.
So,
who knows what to expect?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll make predictions after the game. Speaking of not knowing anything, let's make some final predictions.
All right.
We're going to actually start off and go backwards. We're going to start with the Benjamin Russell at Beauregard game. What do you think? I actually had to make predictions. Caleb forced me into making predictions on our podcast. And then I felt like if they were different, that would be silly. So I actually wrote them down this time. Can you believe that?
Well, I'm glad that you could write it down. But going off the top of my head, I will say this. Wildcats beat Beauregard for the first time in 4 opportunities last year. So that was kind of good to get the monkey off the back there. But Wildcats won't have an issue come tomorrow. I say Wildcats 27, Beauregard 13.
That's pretty close to what I said. I thought that I think Benjamin Russell's going to have a little bit of kinks to work out offensively that first game. So I think this is going to come down to Benjamin Russell's defense keeping him in this. And I said Benjamin Russell 22, Beauregard 12. Let's go to Winterboro at Coosa. I'll start.
Yeah.
I think Coosa has the makings to score in this game.
So they can score.
They can score.
Okay.
I just don't think they have the base of their defense down yet enough. I'm going to say Winterboro 32, Coosa 12.
See, the hesitation came in trying to determine what I could figure out for a Coosa total, but I would say Winterboro 21, Coosa 6.
Okay,